Let me ask you a question. Have you ever made a comment in such a definitive way and quite often that you end up finding that you can't really walk it back? I have been a follower of the Fears brand for a long time, and Nicholas, the current managing director, has been on the channel multiple times and has joined us on the live stream panel. Nicholas and I have had a running joke that if he ever made a Fears watch, which usually don't come with the date, if ever he made one with the date, I would be first in line to buy it. Well, last October, when I met Nicholas ahead of the Wind Up Watch Fair in New York, he totally called my bluff and showed me a prototype of this watch. Now fast forward to a couple of weeks ago, and I think I was one of the first people in the US to receive this watch. This was bought and paid for by myself. Nobody gets a discount at Fears. I believe Nicholas even makes his own family pay full retail for these watches. I paid full retail for this. This isn't a review copy, and I was very happy to do so. Although I'm not that narcissistic to think that Nicholas created a whole watch line just to check whether I was serious about buying one if he put a date on. I'm very glad that I did buy one, because this is up there as one of the best watches I've ever reviewed on the channel, and certainly one of the best that I've ever owned. If you're not familiar with the British independent brand Fears or their watches, you're in for a real treat. The company is based in the UK, and the final assembly of these watches is done in the UK as well. But as we go through this, there's several parts from different companies, including a Swiss movement and a dial from Germany. This watch was really designed to be an everyday watch, one that you can wear in most occasions. You might not want to do extreme sports with it, but it certainly has an impressive water resistance of 150 meters, so you could put it through its paces if you were going swimming. But it was really designed to be an everyday watch to complement really any situation. Let's start with the case, and my initial impressions of the case compared to the renders on the site was it's surprisingly thin, coming in at 9.9 millimeters thick. I'm sure they did that just to get under that 10mm mark. It certainly visually looks a lot more slender than perhaps the renders on the website would lead you to believe. The case's geometric shape gives it that sporty feel. I think if they'd rounded the edges of this watch more, it perhaps would have looked more like a dress watch, but certainly this brushing across the side and the geometric shape of the case gives a very sports watch feel. Case is largely brushed, but there is a highly polished bezel on there. I'm sure this will become a bit of a scratch magnet, certainly for me, but it visually draws your eye to the dial, and it also houses a very slightly domed sapphire crystal, which really elevates the dial without distorting it. Due to the slenderness of the case, the flat case back and the shorter lugs, this watch wears really well. Here you can see it on my 7.2 inch wrist. Aiding to the wearability are the shorter 20mm lugs. They're not so short that it wouldn't accommodate a different strap, and in fact this watch comes with two strap options. It comes with a textile strap and a beautifully machined bracelet, which we'll talk about later. The crown is oversized, I would say, in comparison to perhaps a Rolex, but this means it's easy to grip, and it is also screw down, which really gives confidence in that 150 meter water resistance. I chose to go with the Pewter Grey dial option. This dial is made in Germany, and the main section of the dial features a hand brushed vertical finish. Then the lower chapter ring is finely milled, with the grooves being done with a CNC machine. This gives it a very precise look and gives a lot of depth to the dial when complemented with the brushed finish of the center of the dial. At 3 o'clock is that all-important date window, and instead of putting a silver surround, what Fears have done is beveled the edge of the date. This not only gives it an elevated look in my opinion, but it also gives an optical illusion that the date is bigger. The date disc on here is not only color coded to the dial, it's also using Fears custom Edwin font, not an off-the-shelf date wheel that they've used here. The applied indices are made from brass and then coated. These look fantastic against the brush dial and appear as if they're almost floating. This really gives a sophisticated look to the dial. The 12 o'clock indices is also an important nod to Fears' history being based in Bristol. They've mirrored the shape and form of the towers that hoist the famous Clifton suspension bridge, so another little nod to the history. The hands are Fears shaped, and what I mean by that is they mirror the Fears logo, and honestly I love this look. The minute hand extends all the way to the outer minute track, and the size of the hands and the lume that's applied perfectly complement the indices. One of the main things that drew me to this handset and to go with this pewter dial was that stunning blue second hand. This looks awesome and complements the minute track along the outer of the dial. I think if they'd just gone with silver hands, it wouldn't have had nearly the visual appeal going with a blue hand really has, certainly to me. The hands are loomed, and this is the first time that they've loomed hands of one of their core collection watches. They've used X1 grade lume that glows blue and is generously applied, as we can see in the lume shot here. The Redcliff uses a customized Swiss-made Le Jeu Perrier automatic movement. This movement features the quick set date and an impressive 68-hour power reserve. This is my first experience with Le Jeu Perrier. I'm looking forward to learning more about this movement, but so far so good. It seems to be performing very well and staying quite accurate. Apparently the movement is also decorated, but this is concealed behind a close case back. Fears have taken a leaf out of Rolex's book here and provided the watch with a blank case back, so new owners have the opportunity to engrave the back, and Fears even offer an engraving service themselves. This adds to the idea that this watch is something special to be kept for a lifetime and not just an addition to a paint by numbers watch collection when you're trying to fill a blank space in your watch box, and that I think is what makes this watch feel really special. The Redcliff comes with a bespoke 3-link stainless steel bracelet and also a textile strap. The textile strap, I would liken it similar to a sailcloth type strap. The backing here is Alcantara, which gives a really luxurious feel. The textile strap has quite an aggressive taper to it. When on the watch, it gives it a more refined look versus the more sporty look that the bracelet gives it. I actually would have liked to have seen a leather strap included here. I think that would have really elevated the watch. A brown leather or even a black leather with this dial combination I think will look really good. Maybe I'll have to buy one of these aftermarket. The bracelet is easily a 9 out of 10 for me. I put Rolex in a different category. I would say theirs is almost an 11 out of 10. It's almost a dark magic at how well a Rolex bracelet fits, I think, but Fears here have done a very good job. It loses 1 point because there is a little bit of sideways jangle to it, but it is still substantial looking whilst also being quite refined. The links are quite thin here. These are screw in, easy to adjust, although Fears will adjust the bracelet for you before it arrives. The bracelet combines brushed and polished elements. The center links are actually 3 separate pieces. It's not one link that has a high polishing just on the edges. Also included is an on the fly or quick adjust clasp. This clasp is 10 out of 10 for me. The clasp is on par with some of the best I have ever reviewed. Solid feeling with a deep engraving and a smooth push button deployment. A nice touch on the side is polished screws. The overall machining and mechanism of this clasp is done to a very high standard and is really comfortable to wear. Hopefully you can forgive me here because I'm going to spend a bit of time just talking about the packaging. The experience of receiving a Fears is like nothing I've seen before. The attention to detail in the packaging is fantastic, even down to the box being wrapped in Fears branded wrapping paper. And mine included what looked like a typewritten note on a typewriter from Nicholas. You also receive a special invite to the Fears Owners Club, making you feel very special, and I'm guessing means you're very sticky as a future customer for Fears. The inner box is called the Amos box and is excellent. It's a wooden box colour matched to the Fears blue. This feels luxurious and high quality, well above and beyond what I've experienced with other brands, certainly Rolex that still comes in that plastic box. It seems odd to rave about the box, but the experience of the box, unwrapping it and going through all the various different layers really builds the anticipation, building the excitement for when you get the watch in hand. There's even a soft touch fabric on the bottom, so if you did want to keep the watch in the box, it's not going to scratch a surface or slide around on a hard surface. I paid $3,300 for this. $3,300 is a lot of money, but I'm hard pressed to find an equivalent watch that has been finished to quite this high standard. And I was actually surprised that these watches were $3,300. I thought they were going to be more in the $4,000 to $5,000 price range, and that includes the bracelet version and the textile strap. There isn't different models. All you do is just choose the dial color you want, and then it comes with both the bracelet and the textile strap. This was my opinion of the watch, but I'm very interested to know what you think in the comments section down below. If you're new to the channel, I would love it if you gave a thumbs up and subscribed, and then join me next time for another watch review at Casual Watch Reviews. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.